Uh, Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Manners Live, the second edition of the show, or third edition. Fuck, almost forgot the first one. Live, taking your calls on the KMS network. A lot to talk about tonight. First thing I want to do is apologize for the Minifan mashup tonight. We had the wrestling and Game of Thrones specials, so I hope you enjoyed them. I haven't watched them because I'm not into either of those things. And tonight we've got the YouTube roundup. I'm going to react to the latest sort of KMS show that was released on YouTube yesterday or this morning, your time. But the first thing I want to start out before I take your calls is I don't know if the viewers have seen the latest Barstool rundown, but there was a lot of talk about Steve Robinson on that show. So we had basically Dave running through the perspective of why he wanted to fire Steve Robinson. And he explained the story that basically what Dave said was that Steve inflamed the situation between Kirk and Barstool by putting the details about that advertising sort of conference or upfront or whatever it is. And Portnoy's argument is that, you know, you're the producer. You should know that Kirk's a crazy fucker. He's already upset. Why put this in front of him just before he goes live on YouTube? You know he's going to go crazy. And I think that's a fair point from Dave. I'm not sure whether it deserves, you know, sacking Steve. I think maybe Dave's been looking for a reason to sack Steve for a few months. But I think that there's no doubt Steve was trying to, you know, stir the pot. And Big Cat or KFC made the point that Steve's been known to jump into anti-Barstool threads and stir up things and put a few comments in there that will continue the anti-Barstool feeling. So I do see this as being partly true because we all know Steve is the king of manipulation, and you could argue that that's part of a producer's job is to manipulate things to get a good show. So it's not necessarily a straight out criticism, but he is the king of manipulation. And, you know, I think Steve wants to go solo. He wants to get the fuck out of Barstool because he feels they're not being supported. The sales team aren't doing enough. And that, you know, if he can maybe just stir things up enough to sort of force the issue, then maybe they can get out the door a bit quicker than Kirk and Dave and the whole crew think it's going to fall apart. Maybe Steve can get them out the door, you know, in the next couple of months. So I think Dave was 100% right on this one. Steve should not have put that in front of Kirk. There is no reason to put that advertising up front email in front of Kirk unless you want to stir him up and cause trouble. There's just no doubt about it. So Dave was right. Probably should have fired him. It's on the line. If you're going to do it, you kind of have to do it at the time. But yeah, so what was clear from the rundown is Dave, Big Cat, and KFC hate Steve. They dislike Blind Mike a lot, but they all love Kirk. So it's this strange kind of relationship that while they're in bed together, you've got Kirk and Dave who fight a lot, and Kirk and Big Cat and KFC, they have their tension, but they all respect each other and get on well. And I don't think it's sort of put on for the shows that there is that tension, but I think they play it up. But they genuinely do not like Steve. They don't trust him. They get bad feelings about him. And I mean, I'm not going to lie. I've obviously had the same feelings about Steve for a long time. So Dave's a good judge of character. There's just no doubt that in his history as the founder of Barstool, one of the key pillars of his success has been identifying good people and good talent and supporting them. Obviously, he's made a few mistakes, but I don't know. I've got to side with Portnoy on this one. Steve is probably trying to stir the pot a little bit more than he should. And, you know, Steve just has to back off sometimes. He knows Kirk is crazy and will fire up. So maybe don't put something in front of him that will, flame things up or fan the flames even more. So that was the first thing. And it is a strange one because I was thinking actually just yesterday, even before I saw the Barstool rundown, about whether I would trade right now Christopher Curtis for Steve Robinson. If I was given the option, would I swap them in and have Chris produce the show for Kirk now rather than Steve? Now, taking away Curtis's clear technical deficiencies, you probably need to get a button pusher like Carano in there to help with that. But I've been feeling slightly nostalgic for the EEI days, not in a way that I miss it, but more in a way that the genius of Kirk in being able to create a world in EEI and now create a world in his new show is just unmatched. And what pieces would fit from the old world in the new world? And clearly so many of them wouldn't now. Even I was listening to the Callahan podcast to hear what they said about Kirk, and it does feel like old news now. Jerry feels, I don't know, a bit out of touch or a bit out of date. It just doesn't feel the same as it used to when we're all in the sort of the heat of the EEI period. But I did think I still would probably trade Curtis for Steve right now. If you could say to me from tomorrow, Curtis is the new producer. I don't know if we get Lucy as well, whether it's a sort of 2-for-1 deal, but that wouldn't be a bad package. Excuse the expression. So yeah, I'm curious on your thoughts on this, whether you would trade Curtis for Steve Robinson right now. All right, Nick, open up the Menace hotline. We're going to take your calls. Lot to talk about this week. Obviously, there's been so much happening with the reactions to 2 rundowns. You've got your thoughts on them. If you've got any thoughts on the Minifan mashup, how are you going to spend the next sort of week and a half without regular shows? I've been catching up on other podcasts and stuff, so I've quite enjoyed it. Now, yesterday, Kirk and Steve and Mike released and the phone lines are open to call up, released a sort of video podcast. And I think, well, my feeling is that because Barstool owns maybe the podcast feed, that's why they're releasing the video ones when they're on holiday. I'm not sure about that one, but I do like the video element, and it's quite funny, Kirk and his little asides when he's shouting at Harry and stuff. All right, let's take the first call. Hello, you're live with Menace.
Menace, who's your favorite wrestler?
I'm not a wrestling fan, so I couldn't tell you, honestly.
One guy.
The only person I could tell you is Hulk Hogan. That's how behind I am on wrestling.
Love you, buddy.
Thanks for calling. Yeah, I grew out of wrestling when I was about 5 or 6, maybe. I think sort of between 3 years old and 6 years old was my peak of wrestling viewing. And then I probably switched to Star Wars and sort of that kind of TV genre and moved away from fake sports. I never get that, how people can watch a fake sport. It's so bizarre to me. I mean, I sort of try and conceptualize it like it's, you know, you're watching like a TV show or listening to a radio show, and you know it's kind of amplified to be on air, but wrestling is just all a ham job. It's not that I think less of people that watch wrestling, but they're probably more moronic than most people. All right, hello, caller.
Hey, speaking of fake sports, how big is your cock?
Fuck you. Goodbye. Well, we are back. Menace Live is back, getting the really good quality calls again. Actually, just spent the night with that guy's mother. She's a lovely, lovely woman. Loves it in every hole possible. It's incredible. Every hole that guy's mother. Just couldn't get enough of it. Swallowed every drop, everything. She was too shocking for me. Too shocking for me. She did say she regrets not aborting that kid, though. She really regrets not having some surgeon come in and just rip that fucking guy out and throw it in the bin. But, you know, we've all got our regrets, some more than others. So back to the KMS show that was released most recently. I like the video element. As I said, I like Kirk having his little asides with Harry and stuff like that. I did notice there was lots of branding on the video. If you noticed that, you know, all the branding for the KMS show is on the videos now, and there's definitely something going on, probably pushed by Steve, but also I'm sure Kirk's on board with this in, you know, really building up all the assets around the show. So if they go sub-service, then they've got some stuff to sell. Hello.
Yeah, you're talking about the video elements of the KMS shows?
Yes.
Is there a way you can show us your cock?
Fuck you. Dickhead. Jeez. Well, high level of calls already tonight. So yeah, lots of branding on the videos. What else? Oh yeah, so they were reacting to, I guess, the first rundown. There's been two rundowns this week that have featured Kirk, so they were reacting to the first one, and I think there is an element, and Kirk said this on that. At some point, Barstool has to welcome the Minifans a bit more. There shouldn't be this hostility between Barstool and the Minifans. I mean, while the KMS show is with Barstool, the Minifans are Stoolies by extension, and they should be welcomed in. They should be, I don't know, I think there should be some kind of direct marketing from Barstool that's just for Minifans. I mean, rub our tummy a bit, find products that we want to buy, give us not attention, but I don't just shit on us all the time and think we're complete scumbags. And, you know, when one of your podcasters calls us racist, well, make something happen about that, whether it's making that person accountable for what they said with us or on Kirk's show or do something. But to just say all Minifans are, you know, scumbags and racists and just terrible stuff. And then they were talking about Kirk and that were talking about how, and it's true, Portnoy and KFC said that Kirk was retweeting racist. I mean, what the hell are they talking about? Hello.
You look tired on the TV, mate. What's going on?
What was that?
I said you look tired today. What's going on?
I'm great actually. No, feeling good. Feeling very good.
Anyway, how big's your cock?
Bigger than yours. Goodbye.
Really?
I don't think that's Tim in Canton, by the way, viewers. So, yeah, that really annoyed me. Portnoy and KFC saying that Kirk was retweeting racist. I mean, when has that ever happened? And to sort of start to, you know, lump Minifans in with racists on Twitter, just fuck off. Honestly, if you're going to say that, just fuck off. They also talked about the Intern rankings on their latest show. I thought this was interesting. DJ K, like right up the top, they said, then a bit of a gap to Justin. Then my man Nick, who produces this show, is in third place. And then there was 4 or 5 strangers in the next 4 positions. And then Intern Willie was right down the bottom. And they said that Kirk wants to sack Will. There's just no doubt about that. Kirk cannot wait to get rid of Willie. But then they made a joke that he'll be around for years. So I don't know. What are they going to do with Willie? He's unemployable. He's never going to like amount to much. So you could probably squeeze a lot of stuff out of him for free for the next few years. Yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, Willie's days are numbered. You know, Intern Nick's days are definitely numbered. He's actually employable. Will get a job somewhere, sometime, and he'll have to be replaced. That is exciting to maybe get a female intern in. I think would be. I'm not being pervy here. I just think in terms of broadening, I guess the sort of the diversity in the interns. If you were to bring a female or maybe a minority or something, you might get a different style of content produced. Yeah, so that might be something for them to think about when one of these interns finally moves on. I think DJ K is highly overrated. Highly overrated. He's done good. He's obviously doing a lot of work and producing fairly successful videos, but he's not doing anything incredible. All he's doing is putting Barstool in the title, and then when people search Barstool in YouTube, it comes up. Or he's putting he loves talking about those Call Her Daddy videos. It's got nothing to do with him. He just put Call Her Daddy in the title, and they would be fed. People would be fed those videos. So, and this is really not that much going on with DJ K. Is there a caller or is it another dickhead? Another dickhead. So, and then DJ K released his own kind of podcast this week, sort of DJ K Reacts, and it's his sort of monologue. Oh, tonight's sending him to a monologue because the fucking calls are terrible. Hello, send them through. Hello.
There's no way DJ K is overrated. You're out of your mind.
What do you mean? You like him?
And how big is your cock?
Jesus, fuck off. Honestly, you're a dickhead. So yeah, yeah. So I don't know about DJK. His morning show, he did it audio. He then went and edited the audio like crazy, and then uploaded it as a video. And he put Barstool in the title, and he's crapping on about how many views he got. I mean, he's so full of shit. I think today's show that he put up didn't have Barstool in the title, and no one's watched it. So that's a pretty clear indication of what's going on. He's talented. He's a talented kid. He just he's a fucking diva. He's got a terrible attitude. He's got an ego that's far bigger than actually his talent level. So that's a problem. He needs to even that up. He also needs to get some life experience. DJK he's naive. And he does some weird shit. Like he often turns our interactions into some kind of sexual thing. And maybe that's just because he's 21 or something. But I must be missing something because I'm just giving him show advice and he thinks he wants to sleep with me or something. It's a little bit uncomfortable for me.
Show advice, and he thinks he wants to sleep with me or something. It's a little
Hello.
bit uncomfortable. Show advice.
Just hang up. All right. Okay. Well, what else to talk about? I was thinking about the subscription service. I'm not sure about it. I like the idea of Kirk working for himself. I think that's something that Kirk expressed the desire to do, that he doesn't want to have to answer to anyone. And I get that. Like, in mid-40s, you're very successful, you're very wealthy. Why do you want to answer to someone? Just doesn't make sense to me. So I can see why he wants to go to a sub-service, be self-employed, but I am worried that a subscription service is limiting. And it's hard for me to give a unique perspective on this because I would follow Kirk anywhere. If he says the sub-service is $100 a month, it's $100 a month, bang, here's my credit card, I'll pay. But I'm insane. I'm obsessed with him and his show. So I'm not the person to ask about the sub-service. What I'm curious about is the medium fans, the fans that listen to the show, but then if they pay for it, will they follow or will they just find another podcast to listen to? So I guess that's where I'm with the subscription service. I'm a bit nervous about Steve pushing this too early. I think the longer they can stay with Barstool and build the brand, the better. Toe the line, build as many fans as you can. We're seeing that the show explode nationally. So just be patient, because if you go to a sub-service now, you could really trim the audience, and then it would be a lot of work to get it back. So yeah, that's where we are. All right, let's go through the YouTube roundup before we end this. You can bring callers in, Nick. But yeah, I've got a few. There's been a few things happening. So, let me start with the Globe Power Rankings. So this is from I'll take the call. Hello. Okay, this is
I
from
think you're right. I mean, you're really limiting your audience if you do a subscription service, and this brand's only getting bigger, right?
Yes.
So how big is your cock?
Goodbye. All right. So, Globe Power Rankings. Anyone want to call up and talk about anything interesting? Do it now, because this show has got about 5 minutes left. So the Globe Power Rankings came out on minifanshow.com, the best blog in the KMS universe. Number 10 was Tony, Gigs Offsider. Number 9 was Matt Carano. Number 8 was R.A. Minahan. And Globe does a great job with this blog. Hello, caller? Hello? Globe does a great...
Sorry.
What's up?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So Menners wanted to say that I'm a big fan. I like how prepared you are for all the shows you do.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. And do you have any thoughts on DEC's content?
Yeah, I do. I do have a lot of thoughts on that. So what in particular?
What?
Well, I like his. I think I was just talking about the blog. So I think minifanshow.com the blog's really good. I think they're getting some good articles up there, unlike the mini blog, which is a piece of shit. So I think that's good. DEC's content, it does vary. I mean, the week in review is separate. That's been really good. But his shows vary, and it's not just because of the guests. Sometimes he goes off on weird tangents. So sometimes he doesn't edit them at all, and they've got these weird gaps in sound. But
I don't
generally,
understand why he doesn't do more video, like
yeah,
live video. Or
I
just,
think, it's true. He doesn't like the YouTube channel at all. I think he's trying to build up the podcast feed. He was just in a private chat before trying to tell us all to buy his fucking t-shirts or something.
so with Kirk's subscription service, if it happens, do you think, like, who would you surround him with talent-wise, like how he interacts with Barstool talent? Like, what kind of talent would you surround Kirk with?
Well, that's an interesting one because that has made me think of the transition from the EEI world to the Barstool world, and then once he leaves Barstool, who does he surround himself with in the world? Would he, I don't know, interact more with Jerry Callahan's podcast? Would he, try? I think maybe he's trying to build up someone like DJK to be someone who he could at least interact with somehow. It would be sort of a
Jim
challenge
Murray.
for what? Murray. Yeah, Murray's
Big
good.
Jim Murray, yeah.
Yep. So maybe he'd
And
try and interact with the YouTube more. I'm not sure, but we saw from when he came from EI to Barstool, there was a period where there wasn't much interaction between Kirk and Barstool.
yeah, I mean, that's like one of my favorite parts of him being at Barstool. So, and one other thing, I think Mike should be punished for not going to Florida. And what I mean by that is, I think he should have to do stand up on, like, via Zoom or on YouTube Live for like 6 weeks in front of the Minifan audience.
Yeah, well, I'm Team Mike on the Florida thing. I think he did the right thing not going. Can you imagine if he'd been in Florida while all that was happening with K Marco? It would have just been a disaster because you would have had, I don't know, Carano and Steve reacting with Kirk. It would have been a real disappointment. But I got some bad news for Mike that in the latest rundown, Portnoy said that Mike has been breaking the golden rule about him talking about Barstool people, and that Portnoy was thinking about firing him.
Oh,
So
well,
Portnoy's been listening.
I thought he was talking about Steve, but that makes
He's
more
talking about
sense.
both. He wants to fire both.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd be happy
All
if
right.
he
Well,
fired
thanks for
Steve.
taking my call.
Thanks for not asking how big my cock was. A nice change. All right. So I'm here with Blobe. I'm going through his power rankings. Let's get to the top 5. Minifanshow.com. Go and read it. Number 5, my fellow Aussie Minifan. Number 4, Lauren. She was the token female in the list. Number 3, Gig. Burst into the top 3. Number 2, Kevin from Bristol after his hilarious appearance on Drinking Buddies. And amazingly, I was the first Aussie to take out the number 1 spot on the Blobe Power Rankings. So thanks, Blobe, for making me number 1. It was a great moment for me, a great moment for my family, and something that I'll treasure for a long, long time. So thank you. Hello, caller. Caller, are you there?
No, so I see you got named number 1. That's funny because I think of you more like number 2. Like poo poo.
It's not too bad.
So Manners, I gotta raise a few concerns with you. What is this bedroom you're in?
Fuck off, Tony Clifton.
What is this bedroom? That is more depressing than the last few pages of Anthony Bourdain's journal. Okay,
you're a cunt. You're just a big cunt. Honestly,
I don't like the way you say. I don't like the way you say cunt. I've got to give you that.
You do or don't like it?
I love it.
Good. I mean, I like saying it. I got to say, it's one of the most liberating things to say in the English language.
Oh man, is that room? I've seen more uplifting bedrooms in the movie Train Spotting. Okay, I'm just waiting for a dead baby to crawl across your ceiling. There, where are you? Where are you? That is not the bedroom of a happily married man with children.
It's actually one of my children's bedrooms. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Are they with their new? Are they with their stepdad right now?
No,
In
they're
his
not.
presumably luxurious house.
No. All right, fuck off. Bang on that. Bang on this guy. Thanks for the call, Clifton. So thanks to the blow for making me number one. Great stuff. And go and read minifanshow.com. DC wrote a really interesting article and fascinating stuff about the way he thinks the relationship between Barstool and Kirk has fractured. Hello, caller. Hello.
Hey, now is the time for unification of the Minifans. We're closer than we've ever been. I just want to get some agreement. One is that I think we can all agree Matt from Providence is the only person in the world dumber than Blind Mike. I think we can all agree on that.
I disagree with that.
Is,
Matt's okay.
He's the only person dumber, I think, than Blind Mike. And then Allison T wants to know how big your cock is.
All right. Thanks for the call. Goodbye. Great calls tonight. Fantastic. Hello.
Menace.
Hey, welcome to the show.
What's going on?
Just hanging out, doing my live show, taking shitty calls, bunch of fucking assholes as always. But what's up?
It's Tim and Canton. It's Menace in Sydney. How you doing, buddy?
I'm really good, Tim. What do you got for me?
You look like you're being held in a little Thai prison there with that room. What the hell's going on?
I'm in my son's room. The internet at my studio shit the bed last night and just fuck. So yeah, I'm recording from home. And yeah, look, you know what it's like with Tim. You're at pains to explain how many fucking times your semen has impregnated your wife and then produced little Tim and Cantons that trying to get your kids to tidy up their room is impossible.
I know where you're coming from. There's 4 little Tim and Cantons, but my kids' room I take a little more pride in. You got to fix that crack in the wall, and there's no fucking posters or anything. You got to put some cricket posters up there or something.
It's my son's room. He hates cricket. I mean, I took all the Red Sox stuff down. It was actually full of Red Sox posters. I took them down because we've been there, done that before. I didn't want any issues.
So I want to give you credit. You've done a great job with the Minifan mashup.
Thank you.
This week, while there's really nothing going on, I got to say, you put together some eclectic personalities on each show.
Wasn't intentional.
But I
just told people to volunteer.
I'm sorry?
I just told people to volunteer. I just thought give everyone a chance and, throw people together. You never know. You might find a really good combo.
So, I'm not asking for Steve, but is this the Australian overtake of the American media? Is this the first step? I know you're a World War II big history fan.
Yes.
So you taking some guidance from maybe like General Bradley or Patton to come over here and leave your mark? And then are you projecting that you might eventually have a show here in the United States?
Absolutely not. Absolutely. What sort of show?
Well, let me ask you this. What if Dave Portnoy asked you to be the Aussie blogger for Barstool Sports?
No, not a chance. Not a chance. I'm not a blogger at all. I don't like writing too much. I don't think that's a possibility.
So you're looking a little tired today too there, buddy. You're looking like the world's got you down. What the hell is going on?
No, I'm good. I'm just pissed off with these calls tonight. Those fucking assholes trying to ruin my show. It just put me in a bad mood. I've got to snap out of it.
You mean prank callers like me?
No, well, I don't know if you're the one calling with these stupid jokes all the time.
No,
and they're not even jokes. It's even poor material. But I'm feeling good. I'm not sure. All I want is the Minifan mashup. I like the community, Tim. I know people don't think this about me, but I like the fact that there's a community around the show where people can have fun And that's all I was trying to do with the Minifan mashup. It's certainly not a way of taking over the show, but I do agree with Portnoy. Maybe Steve does have to go. If you took him out of the mix, perhaps you wouldn't have someone pushing this anti-Barstool line in the background the whole time.
Oh, see, I think you're way off base. Steve is Kirk is the creative master of the whole miniverse, right? He is the creative guy. Steve's the business guy. Steve's the guy that gets it done. You got to have a guy who's your nuts and bolts. He's the wolf from one of those Tarantino movies,
Reservoir Dogs,
Pulp Fiction, right?
Harvey Keitel,
that is Steve. Yeah. He executes. You may not like him, but he's going to get it done. He may not even look good. And by the way, your girl Allison T, are you looking at your comments there, buddy? Because I know she's a big fan of yours.
Well, what did she say?
Well,
anyway,
she wants you to put her to sleep.
I would happily do that. Absolutely happily. Shame I'm so far away. Otherwise, I'd head over right now. I sort of with Steve's comments though, what you say about him is, I think that there's a little bit of a lack of knowledge here. That, frankly, he just does what a podcast producer should do. Like, he's doing it well, and he is working hard and getting lots of things going around the show. But there is actually a lot of other podcast producers in America that do exactly what he does. Like, I started a YouTube page and I built a website and I started social channels. I mean, that's not that incredible, Tim. I mean, I agree he's diligent, Steve, but I'm pretty sure that there will be a queue of producers with the same skill set that could come in and replace him.
But you're talking about producing. What do you think it is that he's lacking? Because he also does behind the scenes business. He's responsible.
I'm not saying he's lacking anything, but
for coordinating the on location events. I mean, what is it that you want him to do differently or more of?
So producing wise, I guess, apart from his on-air deficiencies and his sadistic, manipulative side. And I don't know if anyone picked up in the latest show, but they talked about subservice, and without hesitating, Steve said, yeah, then we can ban some Minifans. I mean, he will shit on the Minifans in a second. So that's what I hate about him. Like, Kirk actually, I think, loves the Minifans. Steve does not give a shit. He just wants our fucking green, as you call it in America. He wants that money that we can bring him, and that is it. As a producer, he's fine. But I agree with Portnoy that, like, him trying to stir up shit between Kirk and Barstool does not help Kirk. In the end, it doesn't help Kirk. So that's what I think the problem. Producing-wise is fine. But just from that sort of personality-wise stuff, Steve is also very manipulative. There's a whole swathe of Minifans that have seen what Steve does behind the scenes. I mean, he's a sly fucker.
But Menace, what's the adage? You got to take the good with the bad, and I don't think there is good and bad. I think one, he plays that up because he knows it does get a reaction if he does make comments like that about banning Minifans.
No, bullshit, Tim. He means it. He fucking means it. He fucking means it.
Maybe to certain personalities, which I wouldn't necessarily say he's wrong. I mean, people not calling out, but making disparaging comments about situations that they don't understand. It's not a matter of banning them. It's a matter of not giving them attention. But do you think that if there was someone in that position, like you said, there's a million podcast producers, don't you think that a lot of them would have listened to everything that Dave said? And Dave's been wrong more times than he's been right, and he's incredibly successful. So they listen to what Dave said, and we don't get the content that, let's face it, when Steve messes up or Steve does something that maybe he shouldn't have, that's phenomenal content. You get someone else in there, and they're going to be a lapdog for whatever Dave says. That takes the show in a whole different direction.
Tim, you're 100% wrong. I mean, and you should know it better than anybody because you've been with Kirk forever. It doesn't matter who he's with; he makes them entertaining. And I use the example because it's the best one. Ken Laird. Ken Laird is the biggest fucking drip in the world. I don't know if you've seen what path he's taken since Kirk left, but it is fucking boring as shit. But when Kirk was with him, he was able to bring out stuff that made him seem interesting. So I think whoever was the producer.
Disagree. I think you're conflating Chris Curtis and Ken Laird together. Ken Laird was boring. Even Kirk could not make him interesting. Kirk made Curtis incredibly interesting. He's done the same with Steve. But my point is, if you don't have a guy like Steve who's willing to mess up, who's willing to have a suspension, who's willing to say things that he shouldn't, and you get
What do you mean
yes
willing
man,
to have a suspension?
then you get Ken Laird, which is a yes
bullshit. Man. Bullshit. There's in betweens. You're making this black and white. That's just not true.
No, and not. I think.
What has Steve done that's so amazing? What has Steve done that's so amazing? Oh, he was suspended for scrubbing audio. Well, what did Portnoy have to do with that? Steve's done nothing in that sense, like nothing special to make good content. I mean, he's there, he fucks up, another producer would fuck up, and Kirk would do similar stuff.
But this is where I disagree with you. It's not just that he's a producer, he's more of a business manager. You've heard Kirk say he doesn't want to talk to Portnoy anymore. He barely wants to hear from Erica. He wants it all to go through Steve. So Steve is not only a producer, he's business manager. He's almost like an agent. He's the one that lines up events that we're doing. He had to do all the work for Sacco. He had to do, I forget what the Wilbur Show. He's the one that had to go and do all of those things. That's not something a producer does. That's something that a business manager does. And he does those things. And then, by the way, when he screws it up, what's funnier than when he screws that up?
That's what an executive producer
who's never
does.
Going to screw it up and it's not funny?
A lot of people will. Any producer with Kirk will screw up. I just think that's wholly wrong, false. I mean,
granted.
Any producer. So back to your business manager stuff. I mean, Steve's the executive producer. I mean, that's what executive producers do. It's business stuff. I mean, Steve doesn't edit the audio. He doesn't do anything. He just literally sits there and records it, uploads it, and adds that shitty stuff at the end. So he's a good executive producer. I'm not trying to take that. It's a personality thing. That's all. And even then, this is just me talking about what Portnoy said, and I agree with Dave.
I'm sorry. What's that? You agree with Dave on what?
On the fact that Steve should not have put that ad read or that advertising email in front of Kirk. I mean, it's Kirk's fault for reading it out, but that was clearly put there by Steve to stir up shit because basically Kirk and his sales crew weren't invited to the upfront. So I think, Steve put it there to try and wind Kirk up.
So, all right, to your point, what if he didn't put it there? What would the show have been like?
Oh, yeah. What I mean, what are we talking about? From a listener point of view, I like the craziness, right? So that's fine. But if I'm doing the best for Kirk, I mean, you're talking to men I've been told explicitly, do not shit on advertisers. That has been the golden rule. Kirk and I had a long conversation about it. So everybody knows you don't shit on advertisers. So whether we enjoyed listening to Kirk do that or not, it's not the best thing for Kirk. It's not the best thing for the show.
But I'm not even talking about what happened on the show. I should say subsequently what happened afterwards was a great content, right? Kirk almost got fired. Steve almost got fired. We talked about Nardini. There were things that were brought to the fore that we frankly never would have heard about. Now, he didn't crap on advertisers. What he crapped on was there was an event, and I think they call them upfronts, that was coming up, and he gave a code out that, by the way, you could change on the fly, and that.
I know that too. Yeah.
I think that's a very weak argument, almost a straw man, to say, "Oh, you gave out our code, and now you screwed everything up." Not true. By the way, he works for Barstool, and he's not and I think it's Steve. Did he get Kirk riled up? I guess so. But what he did was he got Kirk to talk about something that has been festering for a while. There is zero support at Barstool. They're doing upfront, and Kirk was not included. What better way to get a discussion about it than to not crap on the advertisers, but to actually say, there's something coming up that we're not included on, and here's a great way for you to riff on it. And Kirk is better than anybody when it comes to riffing.
Yeah, I just think you're putting that
he
in
went
front
down
of him
the
and then
advertising
going on
road.
live on
But I
YouTube is a
disagree
mistake.
with you.
Well, I just think, I just think Steve was trying to stir shit up, and he went live on YouTube, gave him the email. It was seemed like a method in sabotage, and and Kirk did say, "I want the Minifans to go and ruin this up front." So that would, if you're an advertiser and you're watching something, and then you got Minifans, I don't know, bombing in, you're probably not going to advertise with the company afterwards. So yeah, I mean. I just think
Well,
I can see where Portnoy's coming from. That it seems like Steve is stirring things up in the background, and I'm sure there's truth to it. I'm sure Steve's frustrated that the sales team aren't supporting him. So there's a bit of fault on both sides, but I just think Portnoy's got a reasonable point that perhaps moving Steve on would be, in the end, better for Kirk.
well, I still go back to, then who do you have? A Mark Moroso?
No, Kirk is such a talent. There'll be a fucking queue of people to work with him. Really good producers. There'll be a swathe of them.
But producing is one thing. It's the big picture overall, and that's where I think Steve is fantastic.
Well,
Are you familiar with the old show that he was on, the Howie Carr show?
mildly.
Yeah. So Howie's really, really, really big in basically the Boston area. He's gigantic. He wrote a column for years. He's had a radio show for years. He's got a loyal following. He worked for Entercom. He hated working for Entercom. He talked about it all the time. He left Entercom, and guess who was the biggest customer that bought the Howie Carr show when he went out on his own? It was Entercom. So I think Steve has learned something about, working for people that keep your creative juices down and limit you to what you want to do and expose and be transparent. Kirk yes. Does Steve know that Kirk comes from a world that, like at EEI, where they say you cannot say anything bad about the Red Sox, or you're going to get, suspended? Absolutely. But it makes for good content. The other thing is it builds loyalty. And like Howard Stern would always say, why do people listen to you? Because I hate you. Why would they listen to you? Because they want to hear what you have to say next. And I think Steve does have a good ear for it. And that's where I think that it's different from any other producers. Mark Moroso's, Cullinane, I don't even say Dave. Moroso, he's going to do what Kirk asks. What Steve is going to do is help push him to the limit and bring out more. So that's why I think he's actually very good. And I think it's great for where they're going next. What do we care if they're not at Barstool anymore? Do you really care?
No, I don't really care. But I just guarantee if you put an ad for a podcast executive producer in some online in the Boston area, you would get probably 12 decent candidates apply that could do everything that Steve does.
But you're talking about just from a producer standpoint.
No,
Can they
executive
sell?
producing, do whatever,
Can they
like
set
do
up
a
events?
website and do social channels and organize shows. I mean, that's what a podcast producer does. That's what they do. It's not like a radio where you're just in charge of getting the audio to air. Podcast producing is the whole package, doing everything. So yeah, anyway. Well, thanks for calling, Tim. Anything else?
We agree to disagree. Hey, thanks for letting me on. And last thing I'd say is Jamie and I are going to be on a show on July 1st, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure Jamie's joining, and I cannot wait because he will answer that one question he hasn't answered yet.
Yeah, well, he's. I think he'll whip it out for you. I think he's pretty keen to whip it out and get it going.
Boy.
See you, Timmy.
Good eye, fit income, buddy.
Bye-bye, Tim. Thanks for the call. Finally, someone who actually wants to talk about the show that we all love. All right, well, I'll just finish up with my YouTube round. Okay, we'll take another call. Hello, dickhead. Hello, fuckhead.
Oh.
Hello, moron.
Blind
fuck
Mike's
off.
penis,
Go fuck.
fuckhead.
Blind Mike's penis. Hello.
Why the fuck you gotta give Tim such a hard time? He's just trying to defend the best producer in the fucking business while you're sitting there in New Zealand or whatever the fuck Hobbit land is. Fuck you, Manners. Fuck you.
Fuck you too. Another guy that doesn't know geography. But anyway, okay, YouTube. Let's bring these shithead calls in. I mean, so many fucking like mentally disabled Minna fans. It's incredible. You think, I'm not surprised. Maybe KFC and Big Cat are right, and Portnoy. A lot of Minna fans are just fucking assholes. Hello, asshole.
Am I an asshole?
Well, I don't know. What have you got for me?
You know, I wasn't calling to ask you the size of anything. And when I heard Tim and Canton, I said, you know what? When he was calling in to make fun of Mutt with the monkey jokes 3-4 years ago, did I think I'd be calling after him to some guy in Australia? I don't know. But I also want to talk about the show, Menners.
Oh, fantastic.
So,
where are you calling from?
Where are you
calling
I'm calling from Boston.
Hey,
East
my
Boston.
favorite city in America.
Oh,
Love
yeah.
that
All
place.
right.
I love Boston. I don't know if I've said, I really love Boston. I've been there 4 or 5 times. A brilliant place. Keep going.
Well, they're knocking our statues down left and right. So, you know how it is
disgusting.
over
here,
in this crazy
we put the
country.
cops around the statues and guard them all.
Oh, that's a better idea than what we're doing here. The mayor just says, "Oh, you know what? That's all right. You can knock them down. That's okay. I don't want to offend anyone."
Fucking idiot. No idea in history.
Oh, he's the worst, and he's somehow. You think the previous mayor was dumber? This guy is actually dumber. But anyway, back to the show, real quick,
Yeah,
man.
what's your question?
After talking about this great city. So why do you hate Steve so much? I know you've hated him the entire time. Why? Because I agree with Tim completely. If you remove Steve from that show, what are you going to have? A Mark Moroso type? And even so, I know Kirk is great. He can make anyone. But if you take Steve away, he adds a lot to that show. He's really improved as the show's gone on. He's really learned a lot. And he already came in with a boatload of knowledge. And I know he can be a little annoying with the politics, but is that what it is? I would assume not. Being from another country, probably don't even care about his politics. But
that's right. Yeah. No, it's got nothing to do with his politics. I just have an issue with his character. But I was thinking sort of before even I saw the rundown today, the Barstool rundown, where they completely tore Steve to shreds.
They destroyed him. I know. Mike too, of course.
It was fantastic. So I actually am enjoying sort of an era of peace with Steve, and I don't want him sacked anymore and all that stuff. And look, purely it's just a character thing. I have a pretty good radar for people, even from 10,000 miles away, and my radar goes off like a fucking alarm bells when Steve's around, because he's completely untrustworthy. He's sly. He's manipulative. It's all about him. That's how I feel about him. And my experience with him is he is like that. I mean, every interaction I've had with him, he is a prick. I mean, he's just, how else do I say it? And he lies. He twists things to suit himself all the time. So there's a lot of the time when, he will filter information that comes from Minna fans to Kirk. But what Steve does is he'll just take out the important stuff and just, put the stuff through that might make that Minna fan look bad. And I'm not actually talking about myself here. I'm talking about other Minna fans. So I have an issue with Steve's character more than I have an issue with the way he does his job.
Would you take that for, take the good with the bad, as Tim said, because of things like Madawaska, Sacco, the Wilbur Show? Steve is a big component. I mean, Madawaska obviously is all Steve because of his ice fishing stuff. But putting it together, the logistics of all this, making it happen, getting the show up every day. I mean, he's the best I've seen. Obviously, blows Ken Laird out of the water, that moron back at EEI you guys were mentioning earlier.
Yeah,
look,
at the moment, yes.
Good at what he does.
Absolutely, I would take. At the moment, I'm happy to do the trade. Steve's good enough, but I think this notion that he's irreplaceable is just such a complete crock of shit. What Steve does for the
Kirk
podcast,
could make someone else, you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And producing a podcast, starting a website, starting social channels, starting a YouTube channel, that's not that wild. It's not like that's an incredible skill set that is irreplaceable. Now, the difference is that Kirk really needs someone to help him with that stuff. So they're really in bed together at the moment, Kirk and Steve, and they seem to have a pretty close relationship. So at the moment, I'm willing to take the trade. I have no relationship now with Steve. If I need to say something to Kirk, I'll just message him directly, because I know if I go through Steve, it is distorted. And that's just, I have to accept that.
Don't you think Kirk calls him out for some of that stuff though? When he figures out he told him something that wasn't accurate, he lets him have it.
Sometimes, but the problem is
Sometimes.
it's not like a lot of the time. Kirk's not privy to the information, so it's not important enough for Kirk to go and find out the truth. I'm honestly, I really believe this. I'm not sure that Steve really appreciates the Minifans. I'm just not sure about that. Maybe I'm wrong on this, but it just feels very disingenuous to me the way Steve interacts with Minifans. Maybe if I met Steve and it would feel different, but I just feel, I mean, I said it to Tim before in the latest show, as soon as it went subservice, Steve did not have to, the first thing that came out of his mouth is I could ban Minifans. I mean, that's the first place Steve went. So, yeah. Hello?
All right. Well, that's your opinion. I get it. I think he's great for the show, but these are valid points. I can't disagree.
But
some of these
I will say the last few months
stuff, he got called out.
And the last few months of the show have been incredible, and what's happened around the show, Steve does deserve some credit for it. He works exceptionally hard. I like the fact that he has set up 2 YouTube channels, and we get the ability to broadcast now on it. So I appreciate that side of things. It's purely a character thing, and that's it. Thanks for the call.
Well, Menners, have a good night or morning, whatever it is.
It's lunchtime.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks for the call. Take care. Bye. All right. So that's it for calls tonight. Thank you to most of the callers for calling up. Was good. I guess we'll wrap it up there. Just the quick YouTube news is some really good news. The Barstool the KMS rundown is back. Last week we had Turtle Boy appear with Red and surprise, surprise, John from Scranton was on another show. So we had those 3. So it's good to have the rundown back. Drinking Buddies was an all-time classic with BA spewing everywhere. So go and watch that. The Minna Ladies is always good. It had some dating stories from Lauren and Tara's past. So again, go back to that. You can certainly skip all of DJ K's stuff on the channel. It's going downhill fast. The little guy's on a trajectory to nowhere. But yeah, lot of the Minifan mashup is going every night, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. live on this channel. Just the fucking wild mix of Minifans that appeared on the YouTube in the past. Some first timers coming on, so should be lots of fun. Thanks to everyone for watching this edition of Menners Live. Thanks to Tim for calling and the last caller. Great chats. And I'll be back next week, live 10 p.m. Thanks, Nick. Wrap it up, buddy.